So hopefully we're going to help you with a vision for doing lead generation on a rhythmic basis now and forever in the future that will help you on beyond 5 months, on beyond the end of the year.
Our special guest this morning, coaching extraordinary, Amy Lassen. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
It is good to see you. What are we discussing today? I feel like it's about halfway through the year, and maybe what we're discussing today has something to do with maybe a mid-year something, maybe our second act. What are you thinking?
Exactly. Let's talk about the second act of 2020. And I don't want to sound insensitive or facetious when I say that, but for those of us running our own businesses, it is time to look at how we want the second half of the year to go. And as you and Eyerusalem pointed out, there is plenty of need for our services. So time to figure out how we can be best promoting our service and serving as many people as possible for the rest of the year.
I like it. So I think we're all hoping that our second act is better than our first act, especially this year because it's been so strange with COVID. Those that are not watching live, it is Monday, June 29th. We are in month 4 of COVID, I want to say. Things were looking better until 10 days ago, and maybe some states opened a little bit too early or too quickly, and maybe some folks didn't take it as seriously as they wanted. So we're seeing some cases spike. That is the current COVID news. But if you're watching in the future, hopefully news is good. So we've been deemed essential in the Mid-Atlantic region, and we've been lucky in that we've been able to be in business for the entire time, while some states were completely closed down. That said, transactions are still way off compared to a year ago. I think that we all thought that with rates being good, that we were all going to have good years in 2020, and it started off pretty good because the lack of winter at least in the Mid-Atlantic area, and then COVID hit, and here we are. So talk to me about your thoughts on maybe the second act and what you're thinking before we jump into how agents can prepare. I'm asking you to look into your crystal ball a little bit, I guess.
Well, I appreciate you putting the disclaimer on this video that if someone is watching it in the future, that this is not simply dated information about COVID, but information about how you can stop at any point in your year and choose to do a reset. A lot of best practices have not changed. Plenty of them have. It's super important to be careful and respect social distancing. Most of our jurisdictions have guidelines in place for agents. Please respect those. Please communicate to your sellers and your buyers about what those are. Be masterful about it. Be confident about it, and you will be able to do plenty of transactions in a safe way. So having said all that, I think most other things, and correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie, are the same. Like best practices for promoting your business, best practices for serving your clients.
I would agree.
Our markets always change, right? We have short sales, we have competing offers, things change. We have to adapt our skills, but the basics are pretty much always there. So we've got 6 months left in the year, and I've been telling the people I coach, that means you've got 5 months to get everything under contract that you want to count for this year. Now, I don't like the idea of sprinting to December 31st, and seeing that as a big old wall, because then you wake up in January relatively unemployed with not much in your pipeline. So hopefully we're going to help you with a vision for doing lead generation on a rhythmic basis now and forever in the future that will help you on beyond 5 months, on beyond the end of the year. But Charlie, you were about to share with us a possibility of a 6-month business plan, correct?
Yes. So we can scroll through this real quick. Having your vision with your personal and professional vision, I think it always makes sense to spend a little bit of time on that. Anytime you're doing a business plan, and then some goals, some 3 key areas to master professionally and personally. jotting those down, but then really getting into the numbers. I think this is where we really wanted to dive in today. Amy, this is a 6-month income goal where you would start with the amount of money that you want to earn. And then you're putting in on line 2 what your average sales price is. And if you're not sure what your average sales price is, spend a couple minutes and look it up in the MLS or ask your brokerage. And then what is your average commission percentage? Do not fall into the trap of wanting to put 3% down, right? Because it's typically not 3%. It's typically less than 3%. And if you were going to sell your best friend's home, would you charge 3% on the list side? Probably not. So give yourself a little bit of grace there. And then we're doing a little bit of math and then figuring out how many transactions we need to close between now and the end of the year to reach our income goal. Any comments about that?
Well, I just want to encourage people to not be intimidated by numbers. I think a lot of great agents don't like detailed work like this, and it just to turn them off. This is actually not that hard. We've put it for you on a form to make it easy. My favorite way to do it with my coaching clients is with a blank piece of paper. But since we can't coach each one of you one-on-one, take advantage of this form. It's really pretty simple to come up with the number of transactions you need to hit your financial mark. And then I think, Charlie, you're going to explain how much lead generation will be necessary to hit that number.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and put in here that we need to have 10 just to make this easy. Okay. And then, ideally, we've been tracking where our business has been coming from, because it's a very good predictor of where it's going to come from in the future as well. Yeah. And, in the last 6 months, where's our business come from? And then where do we want the business to come from over the next 6 months? And if I need 10 deals, and to make this easy, maybe we're going to have 5 sellers and 5 buyers. Sure. And I think when we were prepping for this interview last week, we were discussing that we're not really looking for 10 lead sources or 8 lead sources. How many lead sources are you going to let people have between now and the end of the year? You threw out you threw out a number on Friday.
Well, but I want to clarify something. So on the left, we've got, let's track your lead sources. And if you received a referral from your brokerage, or you got this one thing that just happened to, I'm trying to think of you got something from the Chamber of Commerce, right? You got this one random transaction, you're tracking that. Great. Track all lead sources. But when you're future pacing, when you're looking ahead, speaking of having a crystal ball, when you're looking ahead to the future and you want to predict that you'll be able to generate leads from certain sources, it would be exhausting and pretty much futile to try to actively nurture as many as you see here. What is this? 15, 20 sources? I don't know how long a piece of paper is, right? So that would be really a bad use of time. So I would suggest, and it depends on your place in your career. If you already are mastering your farm, if you're already getting a high return on investment from your sphere of influence marketing, if you're really killing it with virtual or otherwise open houses, whatever your current sources are, if you want to add more, look at that. And I would say add 1 significant source per 90 days if you don't have skill in that area. For those of you who have been inconsistent, and Charlie, I think you and I know that most agents tend to be inconsistent in their lead generation. Sure. I would look at maybe focusing for the rest of the year on 3 primary sources. Really, you have to look at yourself. How long can you focus? How much can you focus? And focus will take you everywhere. Even if you picked one and chose to be the expert, it would get you further than dabbling in many.
I like it. So just to fill this out, we're only needing 10 deals between now and the end of the year. So maybe, and I think that you and I have discussed before, some of us, we lump past clients and repeat along with sphere into one big bucket. That's not how this particular plan is done. Yeah. We can say we've got 2 from our sphere, and then maybe I'm looking forward to going back to my traditional open houses. Maybe that was a big lead source for me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put 3 here, and then I'm committed to my farm taking off. I'm going to put 2 here, and now I need 1 more seller, and maybe I always go to different conferences, or and while I can't go in person to meet agents, I have a really good referral network, and I have an electronic newsletter that goes out to all my agent friends every month, keeping them up to date on our Washington, D.C. market. So maybe I put 1 in here. So that is an example of how you can divide up the number of deals that you need. And then we can scroll down. So we've got 5 and 5.
So I want to clarify for everyone. So this really simple plan helps you to come up with the math. But once you've chosen your, let's say, 3 sources, I want to encourage you to commit to growing your skill. And it surprises me how many agents say, oh, I'm already good at that. And then I'll ask, how many leads did you get? How many referrals and repeats did you get from your sphere of influence and your entire database last year? Oh, and they'll either not know or they'll come up with a surprisingly low percentage.
Yeah.
So I want to encourage you, whatever 3 sources you chose as your top, double down, watch YouTube videos, go back and check out the content that we have been providing on the Allegiance Way website. Really take advantage of what's out there and grow your skill. It is possible to have a really, really high return on these sources if you focus and take advantage of the people who have gone before you and done it well.
Well, yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning 10% of people that we know should be buying, selling, or referring us every year. And if you know 20 people and you're not getting 20 deals from them, something's missing, right? You're not in touch as often as we should be. And that's probably, a topic for another show again, but it's also something that we've been over before. So people can certainly search for that. So going back to this, we like to use the ratio of 40 conversations to 1 sale. So it says annually here, but we're talking over the next 6 months. So the total number of conversations that we would need is 400. And then note, we're actually dividing this by not 6 months, we're dividing it by 5 months.
Right.
Why? Because we know that we need to get these people into the pipeline. So 5 divided by 400 divided by 5, rather, I believe is 80. And then dividing by 3 is, or divided by 20 rather, is 4. So we need 4 conversations per day to have our income that we want show up based on our math. And that's not a lot. And by the way, I do think that it's worth reviewing what a conversation is, Amy. And I think you and I tend to agree with this, right?
Yeah.
It's generally a back and forth conversation. It used to be in person. That's harder now. On the phone is ideal, a text message or a Facebook message, but it's back and forth. And I like the idea of, there's always a debate of, do you have to ask for the referral on every single call for it to count? I think you at least need to be discussing real estate for it to count as a conversation. And if you're just calling somebody to catch up and nothing comes up about real estate, then I think it's really hard to count that as a check mark in the conversation bucket, if you will. So let's keep that in mind.
Well, I want to clarify something, Charlie. You're right. This comes up all the time.
Yeah.
The people that we coach ask us, and they'll ask, "Do I have to talk about real estate in every conversation?" And I'll just laugh. You're talking.
Of course you don't have to.
Long. Well, you're talking to people all day long. Okay. Recognize you're constantly talking. Go be nice. Go share good ideas, go be in community, go be in relationship, go be very, very human, go be very connected, and 20 times a week, talk about real estate.
Yeah.
Make sure that 20 times a week you talk about real estate in this scenario, and that will get you to your number. Especially over time, if you are unskilled currently, you're not going to have a closing within 3 weeks based on our numbers. This is a numbers game, and you need to be putting things in the pipeline.
Exactly. No, and just because I don't think we're also not asking for anybody to talk real estate every time. You don't have to, but it just doesn't count as a conversation, right? That's all. And there, when I've been doing these mid-year reviews with some of my coaching clients and, and other agents, there's the number of conversations that's dictated by the business plan. Mm-hmm. There's also a second number of conversations, and that is dictated by the people that you know, and if you want to talk to them quarterly. Mm-hmm. And that is like a forgotten number. And oftentimes that number is more than what is dictated by the business plan. So we get caught up on, oh my gosh, I don't know who I'm going to talk to. But then I inevitably ask, have you spoken to everybody that you know in the last 90 days? And the
Right.
answer every time is no. So then you're adding the Zillow people that you couldn't get a hold of, the open house people that you couldn't get a hold of, right? You know, the referral that you got from the neighbor that was thinking about selling in August, but you haven't talked to them since May, you know, stuff like that. So, and we get caught up on the conversations and get concerned about these big numbers. But oftentimes, if you know enough people, that's got you covered there. So let's not forget about, and what I have been doing is just been, taking the total number and dividing it by quarter and then by week to figure out how many that is for the people that you know. So I think it is two conversation numbers, because we do not want to, if my number is 4 per the business plan, maybe it's 6 or 7 if I know a lot of people. And we're leaving money on the table, the 10%, we're leaving money on the table if we're not keeping track of both, I think, or at least doing that calculation for both. Yeah, go ahead.
I think when you come to the point where you've generated the number of conversations you need to have every day, I want to make 2 suggestions. One is to think of it as a weekly number. If you think of it as 20 every week, then instead of 4 a day, I think, Charlie, for most of our coaching clients, I'm doing it this time, I'm doing it. And then Thursday rolls around and they haven't done it, and they're like, forget it. Yeah, I have bad habits. It's never going to change. Rather, think of it as a 20 a week number. Come to Saturday, go ahead and panic and make all your calls. So, give yourself the grace to get it done within the week or so. The other thing I want to say is, once you've identified the sources that you want to reach out to, the sources that you want to build a plan for that. Don't just push back on me and Charlie and say, what should I say? Who should I talk to? How many times should I beg for a referral? Build out the plan, and we've created this for you on the allegianceway.com. Touch them with quality content. Send them interesting things. Stay in touch over time, both personally and professionally. Show them the service that you provide. And then every once in a while say, oh, by the way, who do you know that's been thinking of selling their house this year or next year who needs the level of help that I can provide? And then you'll feel good about it, and it doesn't have to be on every call.
Yeah, I love it. And note, Amy did not say, she asked the open-ended question of who do you know? She did not say, do you know anyone, right? Asking open-ended questions instead of yes or no questions is always a good idea. So I like that. In addition to kind of this, mid-year review, so we've taken everybody through how much money do you want to make? How many deals is that? Where are they going to come from? How many conversations is that? And then I also like the idea of writing out 10 positive and negative consequences for following through. So if I were to follow through on my plan, what are, let's call it 5, let's do 10 total. What are 5 things that happens if I do follow through with my plan? And then what are the 5 things that happen if I don't follow through with the plan? Because we know that, I think it was Tony Robbins that said that people tend to run from pain instead of running towards pleasure. So what are your comments about that, or anything today as we kind of wrap up?
Well, I think with regard to trying to shift your mindset, being your own coach, which is what that sounds like to me, Charlie, is not a bad idea. But know that all these things take time to build the habit of. So if you were to write those and revisit those every day, these are the 5 things that I'll get out of this. If I keep going, these are the 5 things that will be problematic for me if I don't. And then you have to look at your own personality. Charlie, I've coached people who are wildly incentivized by either and really de-incentivized by the opposite. Like, don't shame me, don't scare me, you're going to make me uncomfortable, just encourage me. So whatever works to your brain, figure that out. Write your daily gratitude, write the reasons you're doing it, and then push. And, Charlie, I listened to the most incredible podcast recently about chemicals, about the hormones in our body that make us who we are, that make us human, and that motivate us through life. And they were talking about how hard work is what we evolved on, working hard and pushing ourselves. So I want to encourage everyone that if this is a habit shift for you, if being diligent about your lead generation, if putting a really consistent marketing vision in place for each one of those, and I call them pillars, if putting a marketing pillar in place for each one of the sources that you want to be successful with is a huge shift, and you start to feel resistance in yourself, like this is hard, or I don't know how, or this doesn't feel perfect or good. Remember what I say to my kids, not everything is chocolate for breakfast. Just do the work, okay? And the cool thing is when you accomplish something hard, you'll be rewarded with hits of positive chemicals. So know that the reward is coming both in commissions and in self-esteem. Some of this will be challenging. Just commit to doing it every single day and know that we're cheering for you.
Yeah, and I think sharing that goal with others is really important, right?
Mm.
Accountability is important, an accountability partner, and the accountability partner can be a spouse, it can be your kids, it can be somebody at the office, it can be your broker, it can be a coach, it can be all of the above, right? The more accountability partners you have, the more people that are going to say, hey, how's it going? How's it going? I know that you really wanted to close 10 between now and the end of the year. Where are you? Right? That is a way to a win. Somebody just wrote on Facebook, you don't grind, you don't shine. I like it. I like it.
Yeah. So just believe in the hard work, really. Just if, I've said to the newbies that I train, Charlie, has anybody ever walked into the gym? Have you ever been in there and seen somebody come in and they pick up, maybe a dumbbell or something and they curl a couple and they go, nobody told me they were going to be heavy, throw them down and storm out. No, that doesn't happen. Everybody knows that weights are heavy. That's what they're there for. And so I say to my newbies, when you experience some resistance, when you discover that real estate is harder than you thought, say, Amy's right, it's working. And just believe in the hard work.
I like it. Anything else to wrap up today, Amy?
Well, let's talk about, because we do have enough minutes, I think, to really set people on a path of what this could look like. So 5 months, you've got 5 months to fill the pipeline. I recommend that you follow Charlie's advice and do that. Have you talked to everyone in the last 90 days? Call the people that you have contact information for, and your script can simply be the one that I shared, which is, who do you know? Or you can even ask them very directly. Are you one of the 1 in 10 or so people that moves every year in our market? Are you one of the 1 in 10 who's planning to list your home this year? And they'll say yes or no, right? It's a super simple thing. Say, we are, thank you, Eyerusalem, for sharing the stats. We are experiencing more demand for housing than we have new listings coming on. So I'm being proactive. I'm thinking outside the box, and I'm calling everyone I know to ask, are you one of the ones who's planning to sell your house this year or next year? They'll say yes or no. It's not aggressive. It's not a hard close. It's a simple question. So I recommend that you ask that to as many people as possible, even your cold leads. That wouldn't be hard. Hi, I know we haven't met voice to voice before. I'm Amy Lassen with Remax Allegiance. I just have a really quick question for you, right? Not hard. Quick one. Another is you can do pop buys. Pop buys are going to be really, really an effective way of reaching people in a fun way. You can be very respectful in social distancing, leave something cute on somebody's porch, take a picture of it, text it to them and say, not gonna knock, but wanted to, stop by and make your day. These types of touches really do have an impact. Another thing is to offer to do market valuations for people, to do those beautiful home value reports.
Yes, right.
I prefer full color, bound, nice cover. Make it a savable piece. Don't send them a link to an RPR.
Right.
But you do it however you want to do it. Don't overthink it and be a perfectionist about it. There are so many things that you can do. You can up your game on social media. I recommend that you check out, and I'm not trying to pimp our website, but we have built so many of these for you. It's just occurring to me, Charlie, that this stuff is available for you. So if you need a marketing strategy for social media, go on the allegianceway.com. We've put out those for you too, even with COVID sensitive suggestions. So that's what I would say for the rest of the year. Be diligent, up your effort. To Charlie's suggestion about writing those 5 things that will make this a good idea and 5 things that would be really bad if you don't follow through. Journal every day. Just give yourself a 5. If you don't have a journaling habit, commit to 5 minutes, and it will help.
No, I think that's a great part of your morning or your evening routine. I know that there's some people that prefer to do it in the evening. The home value reports, if people are curious to what that is, you can go to theallegianceway.com, click on Get More Sellers, step by step of what to do. And I am also a proponent of mailing those reports. Please don't just email those home value reports. They're big. They get thrown into spam. We all get lots of email. When's the last time we got a 30-page home value report in the mail that looked like somebody put a lot of effort into it, right? It doesn't happen very often. So checking that out, I think, is important. And then we are going to put our stats on the Allegiance Way Facebook group. Does everybody that we know that we are selling more inventory than we're getting?
Wow.
My guess is probably not. Start there, right? Make a video, go live on Facebook, So it's a great market. It's our responsibility to tell everybody that, and rates are good too, because I just told you. So with that, I am going to throw it back over to Eyerusalem. It was good to see you, Amy. Thanks for being on the show.
Bye, everybody.